February the 6th. It's been 35 days now that I've left Le Havre. We've crossed the Atlantic Ocean, passed through the Panama Canal, and called in at San Francisco. Now, the Queen Elizabeth is tackling the Pacific Ocean. In a few weeks, I'll be on the other side of the world, in the Antipodes. But before reaching New Zealand and Australia, we set our course west for Honolulu, 3,800 kilometers away. The Hawaiian Islands are 4 days away. 4 days for the crew to do maintenance on the boat. Come rain or come shine, the Queen must always be absolutely shipshape. I use this time to note down my impressions and certain anecdotes. We still have a long voyage ahead of us, and I don't want these early memories to slip away en route. As the days roll by, I gradually get used to my new environment. The sea, naturally, the boat and the crew with whom I'm developing a friendly, open relationship. I tell them about my adventures and they talk to me about their lives.
Sure, yeah. All right, thanks, sir.
What is your story with the sea? How you become someone with the sea? What is your link?
My father was an officer for Cunard Line, but also my family has worked for Cunard for almost 100 years. So I'm fourth generation Cunard officer. We think that this is one of the best jobs in the world. And I can speak from experience as well, because when I was growing up, my father would be going away like he'd be away for a few months and then home for a few months. And I can remember from my childhood, although I always remember him going away, I never remember it being a problem. When you come home for a few months, you're home and that's it. I think that kind of substitutes for the fact that you will be away.
As the days turn into weeks, life on board settles into a pattern. Groups form, projects take shape, routines are established.
Dans 10 minutes, ça marche? Ok, à tout de suite.
Day by day, the Queen Elizabeth becomes more and more like a village.
But you are having a lot of fun with this.
No!
Everybody bless the landlord. Everybody bless his house. Everybody raise the glass.
C'est une humiliation.
Everybody raise the glass to the master of the house.
Excellent. Well done. Brilliant. Yeah, it does. It does.
The head chef, Nicholas, is making his rounds as he does every day at this time.
Morning. Okay. So they're going to roast the thyme, a little bit of sage. Making mushroom in advance makes it go. Okay, so we have fish blanc.
Ossobuco parmigiano, mozzarella, mortadella.
So you get like a big sausage stuffing. We've got a spreadsheet already made.
Piccato il vino,
Use the content. Teamwork is the key to everything, and knowledge of each area is everything as well. So, especially on a cruise liner, it's like a mini city. Your culinary repertoire is increased daily when it comes to experience, when it comes to different cultures. The world voyage is amazing. We go out and we test food, and then we think, wow, what can we do that? Can we make that a little bit more contemporary? Can we put that on the menu and make it a little bit more less spicy for the guests, especially our British guests, you know? So now, when we're going to go over the Pacific Rim now, we're going to add a little bit more culture into the menus. We're going to
use all those ingredients which we have on board already. So now we'll really start to change the menus en route. It's exciting for me. I always get excited about things like this because I really love, seeing all these different flavours and different techniques and how everybody cooks. Good morning, good morning, good morning. But the most important thing, are you enjoying the food? Excellent, very good.
Daybreak, and we're approaching Hawaii, the gateway to the vast realm of Polynesia. I've really been looking forward to this day, for I'll be meeting up with Andrew, a friend from New York I haven't seen for 7 years.
Ça va? I am very good. I brought you some lei in the traditional way.
Okay. Yes, so good to see you.
Yeah, good to see you.
Andrew runs an art gallery where he exposes the work of young Polynesian artists. He moved here not merely to change jobs, but rather to change his lifestyle.
The shaka is a unique Hawaiian sort of gesture of hello and thanks and all that kind of stuff. Everybody has their own kind of shaka. They may shaka to the front, they may shaka to the side, they may hold it right in front of their chest and give you a little head kind of jimmy jam, kind of thing. For me, I'm tired of the single shaka, so I now throw the double shaka.
Volcanoes, Polynesian culture, just not enough time. Andrew takes me down to the wave-swept shore for a day of surfing, which in Hawaii is so much more than a mere sport. It's a philosophy.
The name for surfing in Hawaiian translates into go sliding across the waves. So a surfboard is a papa he'enalu. A papa is a board. To he'enalu is to go slide across the waves. The old Hawaiian surfing was you would try and paddle one of these huge boards, 14-foot koa board, heavy, 10 times heavier. And you'd paddle and paddle and paddle, and you'd get into a wave, and then the idea was to just surf straight down the wave through 2 markers that were set up in the water. And if you made a goal, as it were, you'd score and you'd win. I'm going to have you lay down on the board, okay? Lay down on the board. All the way down like you're going to bed. Lay down on the board. And now, you're actually paddling with your shoulder. So the shoulder is the mechanism by which you're going through the water. So what I want you to do is practice, but just move the shoulders, right? And do what we call stink bug. Just get down like a little bug and see how low you can go and keep your balance. So 1, 2, 3. There you go. That looks great. All right. Woohoo! And you're surfing. This island for me is the whole world, and it's a very special place. And for me, that was an important change and distinction from living in the concrete jungle of New York to being in a place like this that is so full of spirit, of mana. And for me, I never felt that connection anywhere else. There's a Hawaiian word, piko. It means navel. It's the piko of the world. The Hawaiians thought that even back then, when they first came, that this was the center of everything. And so it's funny that most of the world thinks it's the middle of nowhere. And the longer you stay here, the more you come to realize it may be just the center of everything.
I would have liked to stay longer to soak up some more mana, the spiritual force which seems to have drawn my friend Andrew onto the path of wisdom. But I have to get back to my voyage. leave one friend on the pier, but I meet up with two more on board. For once, Johnny and Edward are not on the gangway, but up on deck 10, treating us to a little taste of Ireland in the tropics.
There's not much here. Really? All right. Oh, really?
Just an English accent.
The following day, Johnny and Ed are back in uniform, and the captain is getting ready for his daily announcement.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Here's the captain. Well, I hope you've been having a nice, relaxing morning on board. So nothing much to look at. We're in the middle of nowhere. The Pacific is a very large place. Except that out on the starboard side, you can see the rollers coming in. And the Pacific is not particularly well named. It is not always peaceful. So we shall see. You'll all get used to the motion of the ocean.
The swell has gotten worse. The ocean doesn't seem quite as Pacific as when Ferdinand Magellan gave it this name in 1520. What lies in store for us over the next 5 days? Pago Pago, our next port of call, is more than 4,200 kilometers away.
Okay. Thank you.
So a fourth of the trip is over. How's it going for you? You enjoying it?
Oh yes, it's wonderful. Our days follow the rhythm of the rising and setting sun.
We're still living in a dream. We really have to make an effort to find out
what day it is.
I don't know what day it is.
I think it's Monday.
It's Monday? Okay, it's Monday.
For you, the most memorable port of call till now was New York, right?
And Panama, New York, but the Panama Canal was the high point.
I think I preferred Honolulu.
Is that right?
I love the vegetation in Hawaii.
Right, the vegetation, the city is magnificent.
And Cartagena didn't particularly strike you?
Oh yeah, I really like Cartagena.
February the 12th. I've been eagerly awaiting this day ever since we left Honolulu. Today I cross the equator and pass over into the southern hemisphere. Until the Portuguese Gil Ines crossed it for the first time in 1434, the equator was something to be feared. There were even legends that along that line the ocean was boiling. Respecting a seafaring tradition whose origins are lost in the mists of time, I undergo a little initiation ceremony, which is supposed to appease the wrath of Neptune, god of the seas.
This way, there is a fee. Bring out the accused. Let's see their faces. I always enjoy putting them through their faces.
Let the punishment begin!
A good slathering, and then we all, of course, end up in the pool. The equator may be an imaginary line, it still possesses amazing powers, for even the oh-so-British Captain Wells jumps into the pool fully dressed. February the 14th. We're nearing Pago Pago, the capital of American Samoa. Until they were colonized in the 19th century, these islands, along with their now independent neighbors, formed a single entity inhabited for close to 3,000 years by Polynesians. These islands, lost in the heart of the vast Pacific Ocean, are easy prey for the mighty waves of tsunamis. They're a constant threat, but it doesn't seem to affect the Polynesians' rather relaxed way of life. along with a little group of passengers, I board Sosen's bus. He's a tour guide.
We have one
Are in the afternoon, whatever.
So you raise
Sosen is
pig.
always quite laid back.
I love pigs.
Oh, we have one yesterday. We cook one.
Cute little baby. You have a lot.
This is one of the biggest farms. It's a simple life in American summer. It's how you use it and spend your time wisely on it. If not, we're in a lot of trouble.
It's a very good philosophy. So did you spend all your life here?
Actually, I was born here, but as a child, I grew up in California. Came back in 1993. But there ain't nothing like home here. You'll have your funds out there, but that's just it. There's no life out there, just fine.
But sometimes you need to see what's up out there.
It's a must.
To appreciate really.
It's a must. I was out there for a long time, very long time. If I didn't come back, I didn't realize what I'm missing. So it's gonna be the same with my kids. I'm gonna let them out. I just hope they'll realize what they have here. But we have a lot. Money-wise, not so good, but we're happy. We're sure happy.
The most important.
Yeah.
There's a little ritual that has been established on board. Each time the ship leaves a port of call, all the passengers gather aft on deck 10 to relate the events of the day. But our thoughts are already far away, at the 180 degrees meridian. When we cross this other invisible line, the international date line, we're going to make a quantum leap in time. I like it because you're really aware of the distance.
Now that's a very interesting aspect.
It's the most important aspect. And on this cruise, there's something that really drove home that aspect. We skipped the 15th of February.
Everyone on the boat is talking about the international date line, but no one can explain it. So I decide to head up to the bridge where I'm sure Johnny will make the whole matter crystal clear.
Now, the reason why we have the date line is because the date line is 180 degrees removed from Greenwich Meridian. But as the sun will move further west as the day goes on, obviously it starts getting darker in these positions. So say for example, if it was right, okay. Right. So therefore it'd be 1 o'clock, 2 o'clock, 3 o'clock, 4 o'clock. Okay. Yes, okay. And when almost.
Miss something. So I'll show you.
If it's midday here, it must be midnight on the opposite side. And as midnight passes, the day changes. The only problem is, if it goes through some land, how do you change the day if it's passing through a piece of land?
I've grasped the fact that arriving at the international date line by sailing west, I'm 12 hours earlier than Greenwich Mean Time. Crossing that invisible line, I find myself in the other half of the world that is 12 hours later than GMT. So between the two sides, there's a 24-hour difference. Crossing over, I lose those 24 hours and jump directly from the 14th of February to the 16th. Continuing our route across the South Pacific, we arrive at the Fiji Islands. The faces I remark in the streets of Port Denaro, the capital of Fiji, reflect the long centuries of mixing between Polynesians from Tonga and Melanesians, mainly from Vanuatu. This blend took on new colors in the late 19th century with the influx of thousands of Indian laborers to work in the newly developing sugar industry. Now, 1 century later, the Indo-Fijian community has become the country's largest.
A lot of good smelling. So it's a everyday market or? Yeah.
I head out of Port Denaro, the capital of Fiji. I'm going to meet Mary, a woman involved in her community and active in preserving the memory and traditions of her ancestors, the early Melanesian people.
And we Fijians, we will always think that we were descendants of the Africans. Until 1805, the first Fijian newspaper told how Fijians were originated from Thebes in Egypt.
So where you from, sir?
France.
From?
France.
France.
France. Thank you very much.
Nice, very nice.
Nice.
This is like the center of the village, where we villagers always gather together here for big occasions and ceremonies. You must have heard that Fijians were cannibals. When my great-great-great-grandfather accepted Christianity, no more cannibals, so the war club have to lie down like that all the time.
I would like to try human meat.
No more nowadays, no more.
The further this voyage takes me, the more I realize that when populations migrate, they bring along with them the essentials of their life, their food, customs, and religion.
Not bad. How are you? Fine. France. And you're the priest?
Priest, yeah.
Oh. And where are you from in India?
Not India, I'm born in Fiji.
Born in Fiji?
Yeah, I'm born in Fiji. All multiracial, yeah, Indian, Fijian, Chinese, European, everybody in Fiji.
Oh.
No problem.
Everybody live peaceful?
In this all, everywhere problem.
Uh-huh.
Not only Fiji, everywhere. You stay good, God will help you. Trust in the God.
Uh-huh.
God will help you. It's a devotees here.
Uh-huh.
She said coconut there, banana, they put the offering to the God.
Oh, and here there is three.
There's a coconut.
Yes, but there is three whole.
Yeah.
Brahma, Shiva, Vishnu.
You're right.
Yes, I'm right.
You're right. India.
Good. And here, when Hindu people die, you make cremation?
Yeah. Sometimes
on the ground?
Sometime in the cemetery, in which you put the fire.
Om Namah Shiva?
Om Namah Shiva. God bless you.
God bless you. So I have to go, my boat is waiting.
Okay, God bless you.
God bless you.
Over the many years I've spent traveling the globe, I had concluded that it was a legend, a myth, a romanticized invention of Jules Verne. And yet now, leaving the Fiji Islands at the very instant the sun disappears into the Pacific Ocean, I managed to catch a glimpse of it. The green flash. Fragile and furtive. For the first time of the journey, I head for the theatre to take in the floor show.
Sorry? 10.
It's an imposing house, but with 800 seats, the troupe that presents the Broadway-style review has to give 2 performances a night to entertain the 2,000 passengers. A.m. On the horizon of Waitemata Bay, which means sparkling waters in Maori, we spot the city of Auckland. In the 17th century, Dutch navigators gave these islands the name of New Zealand. But for the Polynesians who arrived here 5 centuries earlier, these islands have always been Aotearoa, the land of the long white cloud. All New Zealanders, whatever their origins, take pride in their country's Polynesian roots. They don't consider the ocean, which may seem to isolate them from the rest of the world, as an obstacle, but rather as a link to life. Peter, whom I meet at the Maritime Museum, is actively involved in the preservation of his ancestors' traditions.
Hello. Kia ora, this is Esther on the left and Bridget on the right. You're a professional player of...
You play a song?
In New Zealand, when we greet somebody, we touch noses. So take your cap off, and that's a honey. It's sharing the breath of life.
Te aroha, te whakapono, me te rangi mari e, tātou tātou e.
The Polynesian people originated in Taiwan and, after long centuries of migration, eventually reached the Marquesas Islands. On board their double outrigger canoes, they then spread to Hawaii in the north, Easter Island in the east, and New Zealand to the southwest, establishing what's known as the Polynesian Triangle in the heart of the Pacific.
It all started actually in Hawaii with the Hawaiian cultural revival in the 70s.
In the 70s?
And that was when Te Aorere was built, and her first sail was to Rarotonga in 1992. So from there's been a big revival. We've had literally hundreds of people trained to sail on our waka, but now there are the Pacific voyages going around the Pacific, all related to this one, which was the first waka haudora built in New Zealand for maybe 500, 600 years. That Polynesian Triangle that I showed you in there, that is tied together linguistically and culturally. So here, this is called a waka. If you go to the Cook Islands, it's a waka. If you go to Tahiti, it's a va'a. A Cook Islander can talk to a New Zealand Māori, even though their language varies a bit.
New Zealand, which was Polynesian before being colonized by the British, is now opening up to the emerging Asian countries. Multiculturalism is on the march. Today, the streets of Auckland are populated by Malaysians, Indians, and Chinese, like Meng Fei. I met her on the Queen, which she boarded in San Francisco. She arrived in Auckland when she was 3. Now she's a true blue New Zealander who enjoys showing me around her city.
That's One Tree Hill, with the Maoris cut down the tree. Well, Auckland lies on the volcanic sort of field. That's why there's a lot of volcanoes here.
Is it a volcano there?
Yeah, that's the volcano, Rangitoto. And that volcano erupted 1,000 years ago and it wiped out. Back then there was no British, only the Maori population here, and it wiped out, I think, 75% of the Maori population here. So you can't really see to the end of it if you look around everywhere. You can't see the end of Auckland, yeah. I mean, all that scenery, it's not fake, it's all real. So when people watch it, they're like, wow, this is one of the last countries in the world that's been untouched.
Meng Fei is right at home in Auckland, and me, I'm far from home. It's been almost 2 months since I set to sea. I may get the blues sometimes, but it never lasts very long. Every day is a new discovery, and every evening on board this floating city is a new adventure.
Ladies and gentlemen, on the other side of the restaurant is the galley, which operates 24 hours a day. We would now like to bring them out in the top and the lower level of the restaurant in the very traditional Cunard Grand Chef's Parade. And they prepare 12,000 meals every day. That is for all of our guests in total, and of course, not forgetting our crew as well. And overall in charge of all food preparations in all of our galleys is our executive chef, Nicholas Alroy from North Yorkshire.
February the 22nd. We leave Auckland and one by one we cross the parallels that separate us from Wellington, the capital of New Zealand. 37, 38, 39 degrees. We've crossed the Panama Canal, the equator, the international dateline. Now we're coming into the roaring 40s. This new milestone conjures up images of the clipper races, Cape Horners, and storms as violent as they are sudden. Luckily, the gods are watching over us. With a temperature of 19 degrees Celsius and calm seas, we enter Wellington Bay. The stopover lasts only a few hours. Time for a stroll around town and a visit to the Weta Studios, where Peter Jackson filmed the Lord of the Rings trilogy. Who was waiting for me when we docked, gives me some much more surprising news. France gave 20 mummified Maori heads back to New Zealand. To get an idea what it means, I head for the National Museum, Te Papa. This room has been transformed into a sanctuary where the heads were received with rituals and ceremonies to celebrate their homecoming after 2 centuries of exile. Quite an extraordinary voyage. So these are the shrunken heads that were stolen, bartered? How did they end up in France?
They're not really just shrunken heads. It's an ancestral process. They didn't do this just to be able to trade them to the Europeans.
It's a funeral rite?
Yes, and for specific persons. It was only the chiefs, great warriors, or the people that played an active role in the tribe that were decapitated.
Once they were dead?
Right, and that's why there's also a whole code of tattoos. It's all linked, because tattoos on the head and face mean you're rather high up in the social hierarchy. So these persons, for example, had tattoos on their face. When they died, they were decapitated. The heads were dried out and placed in a white tapu. They would bury the body and keep the head so that the person's spirit could protect the tribe and the younger generations from the malevolent spirits that could interfere. It's true that when the English saw this way of tattooing, it was rather frightening, especially in the 19th century, when any transformations of the human body were prohibited by the Bible. Then after, they got interested in it and brought some back to prove just what savages the Maori really were.
The early Polynesians made their way here by following the route of migrating birds and whales. Their spirit still hovers over this land, which was uninhabited upon their arrival. They respected this wild realm, asking of it no more than the bare essentials for survival. The present-day New Zealanders, mindful of preserving this heritage, are committed to defending their environment. The whole country seems like a vast natural park, so the inhabitants of the main cities don't have far to go to find themselves in the middle of a colony of penguins or sea lions. Water is a precious commodity. Mike is in charge of the onboard supply. The Queen Elizabeth belongs to a new generation of boats designed to preserve the environment. Mike takes me down to the ship's lower decks to explain how he manages to supply more than 3,000 people with water every day.
We store 3,000 cubic meters, and every day we use about 700, maybe 800 cubic meters.
So 24 hours a day process?
Oh, it's working, yeah, all the time. So this is the water treatment area. So from the evaporators, the water comes here. This is the various acids, alkalines and acids, that we use to treat the water. And then we test it for the pH, for the drinking level. It has to be about 7, right about neutral.
During the night, we rounded the tip of New Zealand, the southernmost point of our voyage. Now we set our course for Australia. En route to Melbourne, our first port of call in Australia, we sail along the coast of Tasmania. I take advantage of these quiet days at sea to continue my exploration of the ship. Today I'm meeting with Dinesh, the head sommelier.
Everybody can make wine, you can make wine all over the world. But there is something, that you grow up with it for hours and years and years and years. So you exactly know. Even today, if you take If you ask anyone what's the most expensive wine you ever get, it is coming from France. You take the top 5 most expensive wine, it always comes from France.
And they were freezing, right?
Okay.
Because it's very high.
I know, yeah. This is the red wine storage space.
Red wine?
Red, this is only for red wine. Okay, so we got a 1970 Wars vintage port, Domaine Romani Conti. That's the Mouton Rochelle 2002. So yeah, it's cooler. So this is a white wine cellar. That's another of my favorite. Cristal. Yeah, allowed to live here. You know, it's just too cold for me. Otherwise, I can stay here.
Yeah, it's very cool. But so far, it's my favorite place on the ship.
Okay, that's great.
A clash of titans breaks out between sky and sea. I could spend hours contemplating such a sight. Darren and Terry would also have liked to linger before this splendor. But they have to get back to their cooking. Dinner time is coming up.
Oui, il n'y a pas de... C'est magnifique ça. Merci. Voilà. Tu veux? Merci, Paul. Ça c'est beau. Tu peux? Excellent. Oh, oui, c'est excellent. Thank you. Thank you. Merci.
I arrive in Melbourne and, following the advice of Dinesh, I head for a little vineyard about 50 kilometers out of town. So, thanks to Dinesh, an Indian, I'm going to meet Ennio, an Italian, and his 2 sons. They are from a little village in Piedmont, less than 30 kilometers from the village of my maternal ancestors.
I think it's one of those kind of Italian...
One more proof that the world is no more than a village just waiting to be discovered by those who aren't afraid of it.
It doesn't smell a little, you can smell a little bit of the Chardonnay.
February the 28th. It was probably around 5 a.m. when the Sydney port pilot came aboard. Still pitch dark night. We slowly entered the bay. Then, around 6:30, rounding a last rocky point, the city suddenly comes into view. What a surprise. With the Opera House on our starboard side, the Queen is now heading towards the Harbour Bridge, Sydney's second famous landmark. This is my first time in the city, yet I feel I already know it. Sometimes I envy the travellers back when TV and internet didn't exist yet. They imagined the world before discovering it. Compared to James Cook's voyages of discovery, my around-the-world cruise is like a stroll in the park. He sailed from England in 1768 on board the Endeavour, rounded Cape Horn, set his course for Tahiti and New Zealand, then in 1770 discovered the Bay of Sydney but didn't drop anchor here. It was in 1788 that Captain Arthur Phillip laid the groundwork for the future city of Sydney by establishing a penal colony on the site. Colonization was underway. The Aborigines who inhabited the country when the English arrived were exterminated and dispossessed of their land. And for the next 2 centuries, Australia was a country determined to remain as white as possible. A policy that took an odd turn at the close of the Second World War.
Yeah, so this was a relatively unknown story in Australian immigration history, and that was the British child migration schemes. And their aim was to bring children here to boost the population of good British stock, and also to provide farm labour in the colonies and help build the colonies with this farm labour. So they actually saw children as the ideal immigrants because they were young and they had very long working lives ahead of them. And so a lot of these children were told that they were orphans when in fact they had parents. And so these children grew up in Australia not knowing they had families. And you can imagine the deception and that loss of identity and just being removed from your country and culture and not knowing who you are and the effect that has on your adult life. And so there were more than 7,000 child migrants sent to Australia from 1913 up until 1967.
7,000?
Yeah.
Little by little, the country is opening up to the rest of the world, as I discover in this chance meeting at Manly Beach.
Living in Australia and being an Australian is so much about having a multicultural background. So I suppose I don't need to identify myself. I'm Australian.
You're Australian?
I'm Australian.
Yeah, everything on it.
Yes.
I mean,
my background is Armenian and my heritage is from Egypt. So it's just varied, you know. There's a bit of Spanish in there. Makes it interesting.
Natalie was born in Australia. Her grandmother immigrated here many years ago. She still remembers quite clearly that long boat trip that changed her life.
so you left from Egypt, but...
From Egypt on Aprilo bateau Galileo, Italian boat. Nous avons $5 only each person. We was far for the cutter of them $20 only we got. This is Mary, her mother's baby.
And that's my grandfather there.
Wow, beautiful.
But now everyone's just kind of spread out and so many people have passed on. So you try and keep in contact with the children and the grandchildren, but it's sometimes hard.
So do you feel you are an Australian now?
Of course. I am very happy and I regret all the life I did being in Egypt. Because you are not treated properly. You have to be Muslim, Egyptian. We can't help it. We are Christian, Armenian, and we do what we have to do. And that's why my husband said, no way I can live there.
Sharing.
All right. Thank you very much and pleased to meet you.
Pleased to
and
meet you
good
too.
luck.
And I will send you the...
I'll be leaving Sydney in a few hours to pursue my voyage. Europe, America, Oceania, and now Asia is peeking up over the horizon. Before getting back on board the Queen Elizabeth, I decide to make a courtesy call to the kangaroos, wombats, wallabies, and koalas. These marsupials are really the only authentic Australians.